Okay, so I literally just asked, Nada, are there any more stories? And I look at baby girl's book, and as I'm reading the title, you can see it. It says Whispers from a Baby Goddess and Her Invisible Dog Dwayne. So now these are going to be Kids of the Cosmos stories, because I didn't remember she had an invisible dog Dwayne, but she invisible to other people, but not to her. And I remember in one of our gatherings with she and her sister, I remember her telling a story about her mom driving with her mom. I think it was at nighttime. Her mom was driving and she and her sister were in the back seat. And you look out the window and you see the houses passing by, or you pass by the houses. But she said there was this house that she had seen, and as her mom is driving, it's like she's still seeing the house. It wasn't making sense to her, right? It's like, well, we should have passed the house, but we are driving and I can still see the house for quite a distance. And her mom corroborated the story because she was telling telling the mom and the sister what she was seeing as it was happening in real time. And so Kids of the Cosmos, I created it again when I didn't know anything about our traditions or anything or about who we were, but I created it for kids like me who saw and knew things, and just really didn't have a place to have those kinds of conversations. And I wanted to make that normal for people to have conversations, so they would, they wouldn't walk around feeling bad and thinking that they're crazy or trying to hide a whole lot of stuff that they actually know. Just because you see something that someone else doesn't see, why does that make you crazy? See, that never sat well in my spirit. It just didn't make sense to me. And so I'm thinking right now, I'm remembering, I should say, not even thinking, just recalling, there used to be a store in Silver Spring, well, all over, called Borders. It was a bookstore. And I remember going in there one day and I was in the metaphysical section, as you could always find me in the metaphysical section. And there were, I think it was two girls and a boy. These three kids, they were gathered there. And so I was really fascinated because I didn't usually find kids in the metaphysical section. That was mostly adults. And so I was like literally minding their business and paying attention to what they're talking about. And I noticed that they're in the witchcraft sections. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, are they trying to do some kind of spell or what's going on? Again, like I'm thinking I'm curious, but now I realize it's my Natano, my family, that's always um bringing me to these types of situations. So I listen to them, but I leave before them, and I could tell that they were getting ready to leave. And so I just hung out in the front of the store. So when they came out, I wanted to talk to them. And so they came out, and I just said, hey, they were young. I think they were like 12 or 13. They couldn't have been more than 14. I think maybe 13 or 14. But these little kids, right? Yeah, these little kids, I asked them, I said, did y'all, I noticed you guys were there. What were you looking at? And we just struck up a conversation, and they were so open, and they just started to tell me about their experiences. So I think it was a little boy. He told me that he was in Borders one day, and just standing in front of the bookshelf, and the entire place in front of him just like disappeared. It just went black. Couldn't it was like the scene had changed. And then after a little bit, everything just came back, right? So they're sharing their different stories. And then one girl tells me, she said, my sister, she has this invisible, what does she call it? Invisible friend, but it's a doll. It's her doll baby. Nobody can see it except for her. Not a doll baby, she's an invisible friend. And yeah, it's an invisible friend. No one could see it except for her. But she was always so serious about this little doll. Her sister was maybe 3 or 4. And one day they were going to a friend's birthday party for the little kid. And the little sister realizes at some point, and they're almost there, she realizes that she forgot her friend. Because every time they get in the car, the mom would put on her seatbelt, and then she's like, Mom, you have to put on my friend's seatbelt as well. She gets almost to the place and she starts to freak out and like, oh my gosh, I have to have my friend, whatever her name was. And the mom was, she was, trying to convince the little daughter, like, it's okay, it's all right, she's at home. You'll see her when you go home. The little girl was so distraught that the mother went back. She literally went back home to get her little friend, buckled her in, and then they coming back. Now, as they're driving up, they see yellow tape. I think the party was in the yard, in the front yard, and it's just chaos. There's police there, and they don't know what happened. Well, what happened was literally some guy walking on the street that no one in that house knew wanted to come into the party. And when they told him no, he started shooting. And I don't remember how many people got shot, but I think like 2 or 3 people got shot. And the little girl was telling me, she said, if my mom had not turned back to get my little sister's friend, we probably would have gotten shot. Some of us would have gotten really hurt because that he came right at the time that we would have been driving up there. So I'm saying that to say, when our children begin to talk about what they see and what they hear, as people of Afro-Wakanu and Afro-Kaitnut descent, I don't even use this word, behooves us to pay attention and to not just brush it off, not just brush it aside, because you never know. And the thing that, when you pay it attention, you are helping them to pay attention to the things that they see and pay attention to the things that they hear. And not just that, when you begin to practice the culture is a way of life. So our religion, our spirituality, and our culture, it's synonymous. It's synonymous. So when you begin to go to the altar and you understand that when you go to the altar, you're actually repelling negative entities, right? Negative spirits from you. When you teach that to your children, you protect them. When they understand that as Afro-Wakanu and Afro-Kaitnut, we are to review every thought, every intention, and every action. So we don't just accept our thoughts. Thoughts create feelings, right? We don't just accept our thoughts. Because when we just accept our thoughts, we just accept our feelings. Where is that thought coming from? How many times have you had a thought, you'll be like, oh my God, I never thought about that before. We literally say that. I never thought about that before. That's exactly what we say. I didn't even realize that till right this second. So we're talking about real time communication, conversation. When you say, or I say, I've never had that thought before, it's because there's someone that literally whispered something in our ears. We heard something. The Nanano and even other spirits have the ability to plant a thought in our minds. And that's why we recognize it as a foreign thought. But living in this society, we just accept everything. When we begin to acknowledge what our children or the children around us are experiencing, then we lend validity to what they see. But we also have to temper it. That's like the expansive part, but here comes the contractive part, is that you got to temper it. You have to check, is this thought in alignment with divine order? Or is it a wayward thought? Is it something that would harm me or someone else? Right? So when we begin to go to the altar, we begin to review our thoughts, our intentions, and our actions. This is how we maintain our ability to walk in alignment with divine order and naturally repel disorder. There are children that are being really badly abused. I'm talking about bullying from other kids. So, the kids they're pretty much open, and they start to get all of this negativity poured into them. And we're having intellectual conversations with them. And they can't intellectually navigate that landscape. Oh, just ignore it. But your feelings are stronger than the things that somebody told you. And so when your feelings grab a hold of you and it starts to take you down, you start to feel bad about yourself. Oh, I'm not supposed to think like this. That's willpower. And their willpower is already low, because operating outside of our natural self, they're literally boundaries, places where boundaries would naturally be up, but now they're down. And so we're like an open target. We're an open target for negativity. And believe that those spirits see your light. They see the light of those children. You see, the children, they feel very badly about themselves. But when people don't care about you, don't notice you, they don't say anything to you either. They will ignore you. So the fact that they're getting all of that attention, means there's something significant. They're walking around minding their business, but they're drawing all that attention. What's special about them? Even though that's not what they're saying, they're not telling the kids that, oh, you're special, but there got to be something unique and special about them. They're very powerful, because a lot of other people have to do a whole lot of stuff to get people's attention. Those bullies got to do a whole lot of things to get people's attention. They use them and they feed off of them, and that's how they get attention. Without them, they're like nothing. But these kids are walking around minding their business, and they're garnering all of this attention. Usually those kids are the ones who see things, who know things. And the spirits that are behind, because we're a spirit in a body, right? So we deal with spirits in bodies and we deal with spirits outside of bodies, because we are a spirit. We walk in both worlds, but we walk in balance. And when we come back to our natural selves, now we can begin to walk balanced in this world, because we know what to accept and what to reject. A thought is not something that is physical. A thought is in the spirit realm. It holds weight. It holds weight that you can measure, because it weighs down on the physical, literally the physical systems in our bodies. When they do what is it called, EEG or EKG, they can measure your thoughts. If you're very depressed, your thoughts will have a lot of weight. If you are happy and joyful, your thoughts, the weight of the thoughts are very light. That literally can be measured. So there are chemicals that are poured into our body when we have a certain type of thought. So when kids are bullied, they are thinking a certain type of way. And these chemicals that are flowing through their body they become like drugs, right? Like people addicted to drugs, you're addicted to a certain way of feeling, but there's some stimuli out here that's creating that. Going to the altar begins to put a bubble of protection around their energy field, literally. And it begins to repel them. They can walk into the same space and nobody say a word to them. Then they get to see how absolutely powerful they are, and that they're not a victim. But if we don't help our kids because we didn't even know ourselves, then what are they supposed to do? When they don't know what to do, then they take their lives. Then the enemy has won. because there's somebody on the spirit side whispering to these children, go after that one, go after that one. Why? They can see your divine assignment. They know. You may not know. Those children don't know. They don't know. But in our traditions, in our cultures, anytime a child comes in, why is there a naming ceremony? Because they know the purpose of that child. That name denotes the nature of that child. We each produce a sound, a sound. So we didn't need jails on the continent of Afro-Kayak. We didn't need jails. When the Messiah, when one of their members of their community begins to behave in a disorderly manner, they sing a song to them. That's all they have to do, because the vibration of that song aligns with that person. It's a song that is sung to welcome them into this world and at significant points in their journey through life. And that song is also sung as they are transitioning to life on the other side. And so hearing it, it brings them back into alignment. It causes them to repel the disorder. So I hope this, I didn't mean to go this long, but I hope this story awakened something in you, especially around the children, because they need our help. And the help that they need from us is to know their identity. We have a lot of beliefs, Christianity, Islam, all of these different things. We're this, we're that, so many things other than what we actually are. We can look at gay people and say, well, you don't know your identity, but do we embrace our identity? Or are we trying to be everything else? I met this girl and she was Black. She was very light skinned, hair light, everything. You say almost white, but anybody look at her would know that she's Black. And she was what I call like an extreme Christian. And she wanted to call herself everything but Black and just praise Jesus, praise Jesus, praise Jesus. And tell me about, she was from Alaska, and she had some German and some Irish and some this. She said, I'm all mixed up. She about 10 things, and the last thing she said was Black, but she didn't even actually say that. She already knew that I knew what she was. She named everything else. That's a very high level of self-hatred. It's time for us to literally begin to seek and find who we are at our core. Who did Mother, Father, God create us to be? Because until we find that, how can we walk in our assignment? We can't walk fully in it because we are, I hear the word cacophony. It's like wahala, confusion of sounds, very discordant, very discordant. And so we're literally trying to move through, and we don't even yet have our proper names. We don't quite have our proper names. When we begin to come into an understanding of our proper name, now we can, it will naturally resonate with everything within our being. And now we can walk, not immediately, because it takes time, right? For all of those things to reconnect. But we're coming back home to who we are. Ashe.